Izzah, do you want to talk about PKR?
Yes, of course. I think I'd like to mention a couple of things. Of course, aside from the constitutional amendment we made in our party. But I remember in 2006, I was still in Washington doing my master's program. And my father came up with this crazy idea about basically revamping the new increment policy. And I think at that time, there was quite a strong resistance from within the party about bringing up so vocally, criticizing the NEP, saying that we basically need a new positive discrimination policy based on needs, not race, as currently had been practiced. For me, that was really innovative thinking on his part, at the risk of sounding like Tony Pua, Fujing, Ding Xiang. But it was seriously, it was really a point in time when I was like, I think it's quite politically suicidal to say that in Malaysia. He was overseas after the operation 2004. I mean, you want to go back to Malaysia and say that you want to revamp the NEP. But I think it was really a good call. It was really important to make that stance then. And I think, Malaysian politics have changed tremendously since that time, since that moment we were in the living room. So that perhaps one of the most innovative ideas ahead of its time. Of course, coming from me, I wish there was another PKR MP who could say this, but I mean, that's how I feel. That's one. Second, we had amended the constitution, especially to allow our youth wing, AMK, to be based regardless of gender. There's no difference between male or female. Basically, the youth wing involves both groups of the youth, I mean male and female. And of course, it is a very innovative idea. People can question, well, it's ahead of its time. It's very difficult to get traction and support from the ground. But, I mean, again, it goes back to what they've said, quality versus quantity. At its height, the Labour Party, with Tony Blair leading it, they only had 405,000 members. You contrast this with the mammoth of 3 million, is it, Heidi? I mean, it's quite... I was surprised. At the end of the day, how much population does England have compared to us? But again, I think a political party, the main function is to allow leaders to grow, to give a space for people to add their views. And you have basic beliefs, basic stance, but that's what you're there for. You're not supposed to finally shape the individual, but it has to be that freedom that's given in a particular political party to succeed over time. The second amendment is, of course, to reduce the age for AMK membership, 35 and below. It has to continue to be a new party. We have to continue to work, getting young people to join us, to keep abreast and to ensure the generational change happens successfully. And of course, we have direct voting for members. Any member can join Keadilan and you can have a stake choosing who represents Keadilan at the top leadership level, including the presidency as well as deputy presidency. Because it's our belief, you can't buy every member at one particular time. So I think these things basically have marked our innovative bone. But again, you have to work on it to make sure it gains traction from Malaysians.
Thank you.
Can I just add one little point to what Izzah said just now, so that it won't be just me sucking up to Lim Kit Siang. I'll suck up to Anwar Ibrahim as well. I think everyone knows Anwar Ibrahim came with a coloured character, a checkered history. He came from UMNO, he had his baggage and stuff. Like Khairy.
Sorry. You got the tadi.
And I had the same feeling. The time when I started to believe that Anwar could be a real Prime Minister for Malaysia is when I actually saw Anwar putting up the Malaysian economic agenda, taking away the 30% the Bumi quota for in all policies and go by needs. And not only saying that, it's easy to just say that. He actually went to the grassroots, to the kampong and ceramah, telling them it's important to take away the 30% equity, it's important to introduce it by needs. And that's why I started believing, okay, he may not be able to sell it all to these people, but the fact that he actually took the political risk to go right down to the villages, the kampongs, to tell these people you should take away the Ketuanan Melayu mentality. It should be by needs, without looking at race. That's when I was sold that he can be an alternative Prime Minister for Malaysia.
Khairy, you want to say something,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, just coming to that point, yes, I agree with what Tony said, and I think he's been relatively consistent, especially since the last general elections. But I think it's more difficult. It's more difficult to do what the Prime Minister is doing. Because for Datuk Sri Anwar, he has more of a captive audience. The audience that he's speaking to, at least, I think, are more ideologically amenable to the changes that he's proposing. But for Datuk Sri Najib, I think trying to change things, putting merit, transparency, market-based principles for affirmative action, and trying to sell that to a political DNA that is so alien to this concept of reform, I think that's more difficult. So I think that's, to me, since we're sucking up to all our presidents, that is the